things didn't used to be this way. People weren't always chronically online, and the gacha space wasn't always at war. In fact, when Genshin first released, everything was sunshine and rainbows, and everyone was happy with everything. I think even before that, what predates the Genshin wars, the gacha wars in general, what predates all of that stuff is video games and how monetization even got to the point of gacha being a popular thing even in the West. Different monetization strategies have grown over time to become more and more predatory. And today I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I actually used to make YouTube videos before I blew up in gacha, because this is some history that I haven't really shared with a lot of people. So you guys might actually be interested to know, what was I doing before Genshin Impact came out? What was my goal? What kind of stuff was I making? Because a lot of people have like these origin stories. Bran Online used to play RuneScape. I didn't fucking know that. That's crazy. That's peak, by the way. You guys should play RuneScape. It's really good. Back in my day, gaming didn't always used to be inherently giga predatory. And what's kind of happened to, this includes gacha games, by the way, what's happened to games is that investors have realized how much money is in the gaming market, how much money people are willing to pay for a character to be able to enjoy the games in a slightly different way, or for a chance to get a skin, or a battle pass to unlock the ability to have challenges to do in a video game. They've really honed in on all of these concepts and made it so that way they can monetize the ever-living crap out of every single game that comes out. And that has always tilted the ever-living shit out of me. That is something that has bothered me throughout my entire gaming career, I guess. I'm not a professional gamer, so I don't even know if I can call it a career, but it's always really bothered me how toxic and how predatory monetization could ever get. So before I even knew what gacha was, I was much more focused on other things. Imagine my surprise when I found out what the gacha was, because dear God, imagine being a guy who's pissed off at the existence of microtransactions in games in the form of loot boxes, finds out that people are paying $400 for a character. Are you kidding me? I found out pretty late that what gacha games really were, but I did enjoy playing Genshin Impact without spending until I spent money. But we're gonna ignore that. I want to take you back in time a little bit to talk about the kind of content that not only I kind of wanted to start making recently, but content that I used to make a really, really long time ago. And I think maybe I've told the chat before, you know, back in the day, back when I was a young lad, I used to upload videos talking about the video game industry. And in these videos, I would talk so much shit about how terrible it was. There was no nuance in any of my takes. There was no nuance at all. I was like, corporate greed, fuck you, and you, and you, and you, and Fallout 76 was a disaster. And that was the content that I made. And it was honestly so fun, because I love talking about greedy ass CEOs. I fucking love it, dude. It's free content. We just get to be mad. We just get to be like, hey, you're doing something that I think is objectively bad. And now I'm gonna tell everyone your dirty secrets and air out your dirty laundry, so that way you make less money, you evil person. Anyways, so I think it's really fun to talk about games and how monetization came to be this way. And something that I often think about is like, how did we get here? How did we get to this point? And I really think where it started was the horse armor. Do you guys know about the horse armor in Skyrim? The $2, was it $2 or was it $20? Oblivion horse, oh, was it Oblivion? It was $5. Was it Oblivion horse armor? Dude, it was so old. Oblivion horse armor for like $5. People were like, you want $5 for horse armor? Get the fuck out of here. And it blew up into this really big thing. But I think that was a test run for microtransactions and what you could really make. Hey, like paying for the development of a game and then also selling stuff on top of that. And on top of that, obviously with like Call of Duty and other games, you had DLCs that you could buy for like $15 once every 6 to 8 months that would come out. They'd only release a couple DLCs. They would all be different multiplayer maps, things like that. And like that was pretty standard at that point. I think a lot of people were like, oh, they spent time developing more maps and it's like $15, let's buy it, right? And that was kind of what DLC was. But the rise of microtransactions in games has been really something to see, because as a gamer, I remember back in the day when I would buy a game for $60 $60 at a GameStop. Sometimes I'd even go buy the clearance games for $20 or $15 just because you would look at the back of the game and you would see what the game's about, and you would go home and you would play it, and it'd be like, oh, that was really cool, and then no one would know what you're talking about because it was such a niche, unknown game at the time. That was me with Dying Light before it kind of blew up, actually. I didn't know what Dying Light was all about. I looked at the back of the case, I was like, oh, that's really cool. But anyways, that was a bit of a tangent. Thank you, ADHD. The thing is, games didn't always used to be this way. And what kind of happened over time is game developers realized if we cut content out of the base game, such as challenges, such as areas, such as story, and we package it up into DLC, we can make so much more money. And I realized this when I was playing Destiny. I found this YouTube channel called B Dobbins for the Win. I don't know if any of you guys know them. They might be ancient. I don't even know if they're still around. You know what? I'm gonna look them up right now. I don't even think they still make content. It's been so long. The last video they uploaded was a year ago, and they fell off a ton. Oh my God. I used to watch videos like this. I was really interested in this guy's videos. I thought they were really interesting because it just went into the details of finances, the business, and gaming in general. So it was not only news, it would also tell you about like, here's the good, here's the bad, and here's why this is fucked up and you shouldn't trust anything the evil corporation CEO says. For me in Destiny, what I found out was that Destiny was initially going to be written by one guy. The story of Destiny was written by one guy. That guy either left or was removed from the project partway through. And then a new guy had to come in and replace him. And what I think happened, if I'm remembering correctly, because this was so long ago that this happened, the original Destiny, this was Activision had owned Destiny at that point, I think. The higher ups were like, hey, we need to make more money on this. We need some DLCs ready. And so what they did is they cut out some parts of the main story of Destiny to resell as DLC later. Now, the problem with that is if you're writing a cohesive story, a story that's going to talk about all sorts of things and all sorts of characters and the world and things like that, what you really need is cohesiveness. You need it to be attached. Each piece needs to lead up to something, and it needs to all be in one package, right? The writer was working on the story. The story got removed, and they told him to rewrite it so that way it would come together. And I think he left. I think that's what happened, or he was asked to leave. I think what happened is basically this guy who was writing the story got told that he'd have to rewrite it because they were taking a part out of it to sell as DLC, and he was like, all right, this shit, I'm out. It took the passion out of the game, it put the corporate greed into the game, and then they sold those DLCs. The base story of Destiny doesn't make any fucking sense unless you read up on the lore, which was hidden away on a website, not even in the game. Now, Destiny 2 has kind of restored a lot of the cohesiveness of the story, but if we're just talking about base Destiny 1, you don't know a lot of what's going on in the story, and a lot of it doesn't even make sense because they took it out to make it into DLC and put it back in. And I really hated that. It drove me crazy. I saw it happen in Destiny, and then I saw more and more games start going towards this direction of microtransactions and extra DLCs and cutting content out of the game. And then you see games like Overwatch comes out, it has loot boxes, but you get so many of them from playing, it doesn't feel bad. But then you look at FIFA. FIFA is a fucking disaster. They release a new one like every single year, and it's basically just straight up gotcha. And that was in the West. That was insane. I didn't play FIFA, but like that was something people talked about all the time. And then you see Fortnite come out, and Fortnite has challenges in the game. However, many of them are locked behind a battle pass, but it's a free-to-play game. And that is a new model that has sort of taken over the world, is the free-to-play, but we're gonna sell you the ability to feel accomplished and have this progression system. You just have to pay for it. And now ultimately, I do feel like free-to-play games are not always inherently predatory, because I think that the battle pass system in Fortnite isn't terrible. It makes sense that the game would be free and not have those progression systems, and then you could pay for what would be the cost of the game to get those progression systems. All it does is let it be live service, which means that you would pay continuously over time and get every new battle pass. But I think if you're playing Fortnite a ton and you're looking for more stuff to do, that's like fine. But what that did do is it made companies realize how much money was in taking out challenges and selling them in game. So now every game has a battle pass, and it's fucking disgusting because not only did every game not follow what Fortnite did with their battle pass, a lot of them have made it significantly worse. They would take content out of the game to resell it in a battle pass package. And then a lot of games don't only do that, now they do skin sales as well, in addition to a battle pass. And then they'll also do a paid DLC on top of that. And now they'll sell skins in a gacha. And then if you're playing any games that are out of China or Japan that are anime games, it's probably going to be a gacha game where you spend $400 $50 per character. A lot of the soul of games has been completely ripped out. And what my channel used to be about before any of this was talking about the downfall of the gaming industry and the downfall of video games. So I'm gonna show you guys what I used to make. Some of the very first videos on my channel. We flip the date and we have this video. The first video on this channel, the truth about Fallout 76. 64 views. It was a shit video. You guys genuinely not even see it. It's 64 views. It did shit, man. Time for some secondhand embarrassment. And then I also made a video called "The United States is Banning Loot Boxes." There was a point in time where a Hawaiian senator was looking into the possibility of getting regulation on gacha in games. They didn't call it gacha at the time, but it was loot boxes. That was the big thing. And they were like, hey, we need to regulate this shit because people are spending a ridiculous amount of money for a chance to get something. And it's basically just gambling. It didn't pass, but that was my next video. The one after that was Activision is scamming you again. Oh, this thumbnail is a work of art, chat. Holy shit. Let me pull this thumbnail up. Look at this. Cinema. Absolute cinema, chat. It's so ass, bro. Actually, classic thumbnail. Is that me on the right? No, it's just some fucking guy. I don't know. How old is this? I think if we're going according to when it was uploaded on YouTube, which should be the only metric that tells us, this video was uploaded in 2018, baby. November 15th, November 28th, November 29th. Those are the first 3 videos. And you know what? Those aren't the first 3 videos that I've ever made. The first videos that I ever made were Call of Duty montages and Minecraft Let's Plays. But I am never showing you those. I'll start this video. I don't want to do the truth of Fallout 76. Hold on.
I don't think there's any argument that could exist on any plane of any dimension that could convince me that mobile games are good. My reason for that...
Look at me now, bro. Oh no, he plays mobile games now. What the happened? Oh my god, I didn't even realize that was my opening line. Oh guys, oh no. Holy shit. Holy caught, bro. I can't.
Is my absolute disdain for microtransactions, loot boxes, things of that sort. And games, mobile games are just completely littered with them. Did you guys ever play that game Clash of Clans? That one where it was like, you'd build up your base and then everyone would...
Why was I so like emo, bro? Like, why did I talk like that? No, we need to talk about the microtransaction. Bro, I was trying to be Charlie. No, this is me trying to be Charlie. What's up, everybody? It's Critical. Today I'm gonna be playing the Oregon Trail. Let's do this. What happened, bro? What happened to my voice? Oh, I come from humble beginnings of 60 views per video. And you know what? This was my first fan. You guys want to see? Nice vid. Looking forward to more. Yeah, baby! That was my first ever fan, chat. Someone get this guy a tier 3 sub.